and welcome to the Bad-Rockin Podcast, where we discuss all things extreme comics. I am Leo, also known as Odd Pumpkin, the co-founder of r/Bad-Rock over on Reddit, and this is my co-host.
Hi, my name's Chris, and online I'm Slappy Pine, and I handle a website called Extreme Excursus, where I've been trying to get a reading order and get my whole mind wrapped around this larger universe. It's been going for decades now. Sure.
Yeah. So we are going to be talking. So each month, when a new issue of the new Youngblood volume comes out, we're going to be talking about it, covering it. We're also going to be talking about what's happening on the sub, because there's a bunch of cool material that's constantly being posted there. And then we're gonna wrap up with a recommendation for you all, because constantly people are asking me, like, what's good to read in the Extreme universe? And there's so much. I think at last count there's about 700 single issues worth of material.
Yeah.
So, and that, yeah.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
So I want to sort of bring some of my favorites, and Chris is going to bring some of his favorites, and we're just going to talk about them, maybe show off some of the art, and just, welcome people to this universe. I've always been passionate about it, at least for a good long while now, and I would like to share that with people. I'd like to talk about it. So, I'm finally getting to do so. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I very rarely, I tend to read comic books in a bubble. I will go to conventions and I'll meet creators or something, but I'm rarely having conversations with other collectors. So I'm excited to have this chance, not just to chat with you on this, but anything that might be in that Bad-Rock forum after this, or where to see what people are saying, because I kind of get my own opinion and let it sit in its own echo chamber. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get on guests, so anyone that's sort of, because we'll be posting this to the community, so anyone who's interested, I want to see if we can build up to get some artists or some people who've worked on Extreme. I was talking to my buddy Acclimatise. I don't know if you've ever encountered him. He's done a few Kevin Smith books. Great guy. Okay. I was talking to him about the show, not as a guest, but yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him as a guest. He hasn't worked on anything Extreme, but I'm trying to encourage him to submit a cover for Youngblood 100. I think he would do a great Bad-Rock.
Sure.
Go. Anyone who's listening, go follow him on Instagram. He's great.
Excellent.
And if you see him at a show, go talk to him. Fun guy. But anyway, so yeah, we should jump in to Youngblood 2025.
Yeah.
Issue 1.
By my math, this would have been volume number 7, but I feel like now that I've seen what we're using as accounting to get to a legacy number 100, I wouldn't have had Team Youngblood or some of the other titles in there. So I think it would be way beyond volume 7. I did check the inside, the masthead and the indica. It does not list a volume number, which is Youngblood 2025. Yeah,
Rob counts it as volume 7. He did like a little post on Facebook that I was able to find. So he counts it as volume 7, but he still counts like a bunch of stuff. When we're on the forum, I can show you. I think someone posted an official, it might have been me, it might have been someone else, but someone posted the official numbering, and it's insane. Because he did it with Eric Stevenson. So they worked out the math on why they came to issue 95.
Yeah, and I'll take their word on it and go on it. It is not where I would have gone, but like I'm no authority, so I'm just trying to figure it out. So like I appreciate having an official. I may land somewhere else when I go with whatever I have, but I certainly don't know. Like, is it blasphemy if I try to put out my own 100 count and be like,
I think that would be great. I would love to look over that. I have mine. I put mine out on League of Comic Geeks. So anyone who wants to read my reading order that I put together, just like, here's roughly how it goes in terms of the numbering.
So I'll definitely steal from that when I go to lunch.
Yeah, he includes some crazy shit on that reading order. He's got Battle Zone. I remember we mentioned he's put Battle Zone in there.
Yeah. He'd also mentioned, I think, on a Whatnot Shop chat, if I remember, is like that it all happened, that it all counted.
Everything happened.
I think that was like a Marvel line at the time, and I think he was like, yeah, same idea. Like, it all happened. And then I think somebody asked, what about Extremely Youngblood? Like, well, what about like the little kids kind of goofy parody? And he's like, It all happened. Because he's done anime type character in one of his last Deadpool comics with Marvel, and having a character that changed into an anime character.
I think it was Batter Blood.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And I just like the idea of there could be a whole universe of other stuff. There's already multiverse going on. It's already like baked in. So that makes sense to me. If we're going to include, that makes more sense to me than a battle zone.
Yeah.
Is there, I don't remember off the top of my head, do you know, is there like an introductory story? Is there like a page or two intro or like a bookend story on there? Because that could count. Like the Strife Strike file from Marvel, I think, had like a story intro, and then it was basically, these are the trading cards.
No, it's not like Shadowhawk did the Shadowhawk gallery. And that's got like a little end credit stinger. It's literally like formatted like a Marvel end credit stinger, where it's like a character you wouldn't expect that would pop up just randomly at the end of an issue. Honestly, it was like a rare moment of like pure hype when I was reading an Image comic, because I hadn't thought about it. And this character pops up at the end of Shadowhawk Gallery, and it's like a 6-page story just at the end, because the Shadowhawk Gallery was because Jim Valentino commissioned a bunch of artists to draw Shadowhawk for the trading cards, because he did like a Shadowhawk trading card set, and he did like some of the best of them in this Shadowhawk Gallery book. And at the very end, you get like a brief teaser for the last arc of Shadowhawk, and there's like this great little thing. But no, in the Extreme Battle Zone, there is no story content whatsoever, unless you count random little like lore tidbits you get.
Right.
But I wouldn't personally count that as an issue of a series.
Because that's all you'd need, really. You just need like Bad-Rock saddles up to a laptop, click, 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 like, let's see what's going on with the team. And that's it. Now you're off to the races.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did in the new history of the DC Universe. They had, like, Flash typing out the history of the DC Universe.
Yeah.
I
preferred the Marvel counterpart, where they had Franklin Richards and Galactus, like, at the end of the heat death of the universe, and it was essentially like, tell me a story. Do you remember what happened? And then like just going over it one last time as a thing. I think that was a neater framing device, and I liked it so much that I dove headfirst into that DC. There's like, oh, they're doing the same thing with DC. I'm like, I'm in. Let's see what's going on. There is so much continuity just in every universe of everything. Yeah. I don't know how anybody gets in now. When I was a kid, the trading cards were popular. So a Marvel series, a DC series, you get your pack of however many cards. You know who Superman is, you know who Batman is, but then like I have no idea who Booster Gold is. I get a quick little snippet on the back, and then like I'm ready to go. When I read a comic now, he's there. I have like a little bit of a primer in my head for it. They were invaluable to collecting. It's a different environment now of the hobby, but I feel like as a little kid, that was my crib notes, my cheat sheet of who everybody was having those cards. And then it was a collection in and of itself. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, like these days, I feel like it's like Instagram Reels. It's like you're just scrolling through. If you're a comic fan, the algorithm picks up on it, and then suddenly you've got all this stuff. I mean, that's not how I got into comics. I didn't have the internet until a lot later on. Most people my age kind of had the internet pretty much off the bat. My exposure to like constant internet is a recent phenomenon, like within the last couple of years. So like I got into comics manually, you know. I had to go and find all this stuff. I had to like go to the local library. I almost use it as a workspace at this point. Like whenever I'm writing my novel, I'll go to the library and I'll work there.
It's a good space. It's better than a coffee shop. Coffee shop's very cliche and busy. Anyway,
yeah.
So like, you're not looking for distractions.
No, I was considering maybe trying to record it there, but I didn't want to deal with some most of the time it's fine. Like if you go into like the areas, because like the place I usually sit is like just above the children's area, and they're never quiet. Like it's like a play area. It's like a soft play area. So
nobody's
it's like,
gonna complain about me.
No, but sometimes you get this one random person that just gets like angry about it. That's kind of got that. I mean, I like the idea of a quiet library, but at the same time, it's like it's just not how things are anymore. Things aren't quiet. You can definitely create spaces for that. I know I've been to libraries that have got that kind of like zone of silence, and I appreciate that. But like, you've got like a children's play area in your library. Especially like an open plan library like the one in my area. It's like it's never gonna happen. It's never gonna be quiet.
Then there are rules. Then there are different rules to different areas.
Yeah. But let's dive into issue 1.
I will mention going in that we talked about this too. That earlier in 2025, Rob Liefeld had released editions of these comics on his Whatnot shop, or sometimes through his website shop.
Between the two, he kind of I think the first issue was released exclusively to his Whatnot, and then he did newer editions on his website.
Okay, yeah. So that makes it's. I that's the one thing I didn't do in advance of this because I know we were going to be concentrating on more the mass market, but I believe there's a page or two difference in there.
Yes, yeah. There's 3 pages that are different. There is a double page splash that's different, and then the first page is colored differently to kind of emphasize the image characters, because in the original they're in like complete silhouette, and then in the new version you can kind of see exactly who it is. You know, they're highlighting, you know, Savage Dragon's there, you know, Spawn's there, Ripclaw. I can't remember who the last person is there, but yeah. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it was Spawn, Shadowhawk,
yeah,
Ripclaw from Cyberforce, and Savage Dragon, which represents each of the OG creators that are still in that masthead. With Jim Lee gone and him taking like this book himself, like that's we have everybody else kind of.
People always forget Wills. I feel bad for Wills Patachio. He like even they did new image figures that even included Jim Lee recently within the last year. And Wilson Patachio was not represented there. I feel bad. Wilson is just like he's not even like Ringo. He's like Pete Best. It's like people forget he was ever there. And I feel bad because like he had to leave because I think his sister died or something. So she either got really sick or she died, and so he had to leave like really early on.
Yeah, and I do know that it was, that's what I've always heard was that there was a family tragedy and that he was dealing with that and just personally recovering from that. And I think he missed that release, whatever that first year, that Malibu year of comics. And then it just always felt to everybody that he came after. So no matter what that intention was and any work that he did with Homage Studios or whoever else, like Homage Studios, how did they say it as a thing?
Homage. I think it was Homage.
Okay, yeah. My point is that I know everything you read is him there from the start, all those early photographs of the creatives. And actually, I remember digging Wetworks a lot as a kid when it came out. I mean, I was just a kid when these came out originally and reading X-Men, more Marvel than DC at that time. And it just one, they would swear. There was a little more adult, like it was gruesome in parts, and that was delightful in this whole series. And I think I imagined that a lot more. I think that got more extreme in the next couple of years as they were going on. It wasn't that bad in 1992. But reading Spawn and everybody else, I loved going through and having these series. But that interconnectivity was a big part of it, and going from one to the next. When his wasn't there, came in late, and then felt like they were introducing it, and anything from Death Mate forward really felt like Generation 2 at that point. And so that it felt like he came in with Gen 13 and those other titles is like the foggy remembrance of it. But excellent work. He was always, it wasn't a problem with any of his work, and his story made sense. We didn't have that like vampire side of anything. It felt like something I knew from Marvel that we really didn't have here yet in the Image universe. It felt like everybody was taking, well, I'll do this section, I'll do this section. It was waiting for somebody to take on Cosmos, really, like what's going on that. But yeah, it always felt like this. Somebody joining school late, like a transfer student. Rather than,
Okay. We were talking
so
about
I kind of deviated off, but I know we're kind of getting into the book here, is going into some of the notes that I have. Another note that I wanted to make, we will probably make reference to this as we continue to talk about these, is the reading order that has been established. We kind of got a solidification with a legacy numbering variant for number 1. Where it was released that this was numbered 95 in a legacy numbering.
Yeah.
So it definitely indicates the intention that we're aiming for 100 and at least a 6-issue go. So it's, I don't want to box. I can't imagine Mr. Liefeld deciding that he's going to stay with just this and going in. He's always been somebody, I'm going to finish this story and go to something else, or like his next project. He always has other teams and stories that he wants to get out. So if we can get to 6 issues on this, I think that would be amazing. And I'm excited that we're looking for this celebratory 100 that's going to come.
I was going to say, I mean, he's finished issue 4. We know that. He's done the penciling on issue 4. He is in the middle of doing issue 5. So there's a real possibility that we could do this in a reasonable amount of time, you know? Like, it's the first time since about 2011 that he's really been able to kind of keep the workload of I suppose he's had other times, but like, since The Infinite, which we were talking about before the show because my copy has just been stolen.
Yeah.
Which is a story for another time. But The Infinite was the last time he managed to do anything independent that he drew that went 4 issues or more since the original Youngblood run, anyway.
I know that Youngblood is one of his babies, and I don't know what background opportunity came about that allowed him to do this. I'm sure that he's excited to jump in. But right before this, he'd been doing work on that Last Blood series.
Yes,
which kind of came out of nowhere. Really hasn't gotten to a mass market yet. I'm sure after this series, or if we need to talk about something waiting for an issue or two, that we can get into some of those other books. But I'm a little surprised that those stopped, and I'm not fully surprised if he's turning all his attention to this, but I would hope that he would go back to that. A lot of series get dropped, and it doesn't need to be, and he can have it all come together in a future series of something. It doesn't all need to happen in the older series, but I'd love to see that Last Blood kind of finished out wherever it's going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath. I know Marat Michaels had his little spin-off. I think the intention originally was that Marat was going to do Last Blood Final Stand whilst Rob was working on other things, and then Rob would come back in every so often. But
keep it warm. That makes sense.
Yeah, but that hasn't happened. I've been keeping up with the inker from that series, and he hasn't posted anything about it for a good while.
No.
So, who knows if Last Blood's going to come back? I know Rob has said repeatedly that it is, but this is Rob. We've heard within the last few years that he wants to bring back Image United, that he wants to bring back Youngblood Bloodsport. And so, who knows? Maybe he'll bring things back. But
So, I've always worked on the idea, and there's no judgment on it. It's capital that he's put in, and now that he holds, but I think he has every unpublished page of everything ever. And if he can't get around, changing Captain America to an Agent America or Fighting American, or and he can alter what he has. But I think he's like, I already have this. This is a page that I already believe that this layout is great. I think that I'm going to keep this and go. I don't think he wants to get rid of anything. So if he has those Bloodsport pages still and hasn't found a way to repurpose them into another story, I can see him wanting to go back to that. It was in some of the Facebook stuff recently, somebody brought up and I found this page from a sketchbook of 2006 or something that had now been folded in. And he's like, yeah, man, I've been working on this story a really long time.
Yeah.
And that page is from that time, but it almost feels like the story I heard of when they were putting together Jack Kirby's Phantom Force.
Yes,
where Rob Liefeld kind of went in and was like, laid out different bits. And it's like, well, we can go this, then this. So like, we take these disparate pieces, we can put together a story with what we have. And it just kind of feels a little akin to that with some of the modern stuff that he has. It feels like he's repurposing some, filling in the middle, and then and continuing on. But why not? Why not have it? If he has it there, why not use those? There's no judgment there, but it feels like I've had these Legos for a long time, and I'm finally finding a place for them.
Yeah, I know. Last Blood is like that. You can definitely tell it's like different styles, different era. Rob's art. Like, you go page to page on Last Blood 2, it's definitely obvious, especially with, he does, like, a prophet sequence, and, like, the first page of that prophet sequence is, like, a cover from a project he had called Prophet 50, which doesn't make any sense, because, like, Prophet would either be over 50 or under 50, it's one of those Rob things where he's just like, I'm gonna do Prophet 50. And he did like this announcement.
I never did the landmark. Yeah.
And then he had like an announcement of it, and the page that he used for the announcement, the cover to that, is just a page in Last Blood 2. There's a Prophet and his daughter Joanna Prophet. I just laughed. I was just like, okay, so he's just reusing that. And then there's a sequence in that book that's amazing. Some of his best art in recent years of Prophet just like cutting his way through like a horde of people, and then suddenly the art style just changes mid-page. It's like suddenly you're just getting a completely different style. So you can tell that it's like a little bit of a mashup of different pages at different times. And even in the new Youngblood, there is a page that was from his EK092 book.
Okay, yep.
With
I always call it, so again, I live in my echo chamber and I'm not talking about this, so it's mostly reading, but I always write it then as echo. like it was an echo of the '92 series.
That is
an echo of the team. But is it? Are we supposed to be saying letter by letter?
I don't know. I was just kind of assuming. It's like we have this shop in the UK called CEX. I don't know if you have it in America.
It doesn't ring a bell, but that doesn't mean it. Yeah,
but like some people pronounce it sex, some people pronounce it kex. I've heard all sorts of different pronunciations, and like I think they call it CEX, but then I've seen adverts where they call it sex. It's like one of those things where I was like, I don't know. I've never heard Rob utter the name of that team, so I have no idea what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be anything.
Yeah. Fair enough. So when I'm reading through these, any of these new books, there's so much in the middle I haven't read, but when I've been reading through, my first thing is a very quick flip through. Knowing that I'm taking notes, but it's just like, not for spoilers, but as much as is it all fight sequence? Are we getting like a bunch of cutaways to something else and whatever else? So my quick flip through is where I saw Vandal. Is a character, and again, and that same idea of like, I'm going to use the pages that I have. I believe that he had together a sequence that didn't get completely finished out, or was meant to be like in part of something else, but was included in the Brigade remastered edition #1, was Airborne #1.
Yeah, Airborne.
And they introduced a couple of characters. So I guess that technically counts as first appearance for a lot of those characters.
Yeah, because I think some of them were from... He had like 3 things that he announced around early 2020s. He had like Carter Cash and the Amazing Six or something. He had the EK whatever, and he had one other one that escapes me, but they were all kind of like these random kind of like rip-offs of his own stuff because he didn't have access to his own stuff. And I think Vandal also appears in one of them. I think that I read that on your website.
Yeah. And I know that he did like NFTs with some characters. I don't have it all like in my mind right now, ready to pull out as a conversation. But this is that I think the first time we're seeing the character where it's not brought up on somebody's video screen to be like, here are people that exist. Interesting that he is incorporating some of these newer characters into the fold. I will say I did also notice that in the Indica text that he puts in his ownership of these new characters. We are villain Xerxes and a couple of other characters, but Youngblood is still owned. The rights are still owned, and we're kind of being used with permission.
An interesting thing I noticed was that it says that Rob owns Supreme, which is weird because Rob, as far as I'm aware, doesn't own Supreme. So I don't know if he's bought the rights to Supreme on the down low or what, but it says Supreme owned by Rob Liefeld, so I don't know what's going on there, because I know Supreme was part of the deal of the characters he sold off to pay for Awesome Comics, so...
Sure, okay.
I don't know if that's a subtle reveal that he now owns Supreme, or if it's just an error. I don't know, but that's, I thought, worth noting.
I didn't catch that at all. I know that there was, and I have like a grandmother's understanding of it. It's like, oh, you told me about Pokemon. There was a trio. I believe like the properties were broken up into 3. Would the group that he has more friendly terms with here, apparently, did they have Supreme? Might that have been part of a bargain in what they were working on?
So there's 3 groups. There's himself. He has like Brigade and Bloodstrike and a few others. There's the second group that has Prophet and I think Glory and a bunch of other stuff. That was the group that he was on good terms with.
Right.
And then there's the group that has Youngblood and Newman and Supreme, and that was the group that he fell out. And so he's now back working with that group, and obviously the other guy was already on board to begin with, because what happened was that the Youngblood Supreme guy licensed out the rights to a guy called Andrew Rev.
Oh, that was so much fun on Twitter. I don't know. I feel like, and then that went during COVID when I was looking for something to be entertained by. Yeah.
That was insane. Like I wasn't a deep.
And I want to be clear. I was not being entertained by Rob being kind of like screwed out of his rules. I was entertained by the bumbling foolishness that was this Andrew Rev character on.
Yeah, I mean, he made some insane proclamations. He was like, "I'm going to get Alan Moore to come back." Like, good luck with that. Good luck with that, buddy.
Like, you come do a cover with me, and if your variant cover sells like 50,000 copies, then you'll start to get like a quarter a copy. Or there was some ridiculous like threshold you would have to meet that.
Yeah,
he was never gonna meet those copies. Yeah, it was very thin-skinned, man. It was fun poking fun on watching people poke that bear online for a while.
Yeah, I know that
he was proclaiming himself the next Stan Lee, that it was going to be 1963 again, and the world is going to be reinvented because he had the rights to somebody else's creation.
Yeah, I mean, I know that he managed to get two versions of the same Kid Supreme comic commissioned from different artists. I'm currently trying to track down those artists, with no success thus far, because I want to see if they have the script for that comic. I want to see if that's kind of one of the projects I want to do. If this podcast gets any traction, I want to see if I can buy some of those pages and maybe put together what that comic was meant to be. I think that'd be like a
call
fun.
Out to anybody that might be hearing this at all. If
Yeah.
you have access to that, I think we would all love to see.
Because I have like scans of those pages because like the artists both uploaded them. But if I can get the script, maybe we can find a letterer to combine the two, and that might be something nice for fans, you know.
Yeah. A little forum post there on the subreddit.
Yeah.
It's funny. I didn't really follow all of the digital pages and any of the artists that were working on stuff, but I do know there was somebody that was commissioned to do a Supreme book. And
yeah, that one.
He put out a sketchbook where he included some of those pages, I believe, in that sketchbook.
Yeah.
So I think that's the closest any of that ever got to print with somebody's sketchbook.
But yeah, if I could buy the original art, that might be the first original art I buy.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be too bad because this feels very niche.
Yeah, even
I'm looking
niche,
for
that's
unpublished
niche.
pages that you are probably bitter about still holding on to.
That was kind of what I was thinking. I was like, I could be like, you never got paid for those pages. I will give you money for those pages.
Some opportunity. Yeah.
No, I've messaged both of the artists. I haven't heard back from them. I don't know if the mere mention of Andrew Rev is why they haven't responded to me. But I was like, I'm happy to buy those pages. If you have the script, even better, because I would like to see that script. They have not responded to me, so who knows? Maybe one day one of them will get back to me. But
I honestly got the feeling that Rev just loves being litigious, so he might have had them sign something that they can't sell, whatever, or like talk about. And it just might be better to let that headache go. Like, it's probably written in crayon and wouldn't hold up in any court, but it's probably just better to let it lie.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But that if we ever kind of expand this podcast, you know, if we ever do something like a Patreon, that'll be the first goal. Is to put together a reader copy of Andrew Rev's Supreme comic.
Yeah,
that's a goal of mine. Something I want to do is get that script.
If you had that script, there were, again, during COVID time, I remember there was a couple of community projects that came together trying to do a 1963 annual, trying to do a couple of other things. It'd be really interesting if we get people to take like a page each and do like a bootleg version of the Rev scripts. Like I said, I want to be able to kind of like, if we can get some money coming in from this one day, if we can get like a sponsor, I don't know, but I would like to use that money to filter into Extreme Universe stuff for this fan community. I want to do some stuff with this community, because like, you think about like the new issue of Youngblood sold like 100,000 units. You know, if we can find an audience of like 10% of that, we can build a community. We could do fun stuff, because I feel like that's one of the things when I was like co-creating r/Bad-Rock is like there is like must be at least a decent percentage of fans out there. Like Youngblood 1 sold like 1 million units. Like they must still exist out there, and I want to bring them together. I want to do fun community stuff. You know, well, there's so many of the artists and writers working now that grew up and just have that fond memory of it. So it's not like, I mean, I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head, but I still like growing up and Smurfs being a cartoon, and I like Smurfs, and like I grew up, it's like I have nothing against the Smurfs. I might watch a Smurf movie or something, but like I'm not still all about Smurfs or anything. Like you go up, and even though it doesn't match my current taste 100%, it's something I can still enjoy. That hyper macho, just punch him out, and is in all superhero comic books. But I feel like the modern stuff kind of tries to take a wink at it sometimes, of like, I guess before the universe dies, we're gonna have one more fist fight, and then like off they go. And I feel like it's always very earnest when he's having this, like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. I feel like it has an older flavor still. It has his 90s flavor when he's still creating it. It's what he's comfortable in. You know what you're getting when you go into it. But there's a lot of modern creators that are like, yeah, man, that was cool as hell when I was 14. And, like, if I were to go back in time and I wanted to impress cool, like, a 14-year-old me, I'd be talking about, like, the stuff I did with Liefeld. I wouldn't be talking about my zombie book or whatever. Like,
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely guys I'd like to get on. Joe Casey would be a fun goal to get on. Tim Seeley would be a guy I reckon we could probably get on at some point down the road.
Just one of the nicest people I've ever met. I have like zero traffic on my website. Like it's truly just the diest hard people and people that are following looking for Frank Miller's Batman. They'll get me traffic. But I met Tim Seeley and I would play on Twitter or whatever else at the time, and especially when him and Lise were doing Local Man,
which is a brilliant book.
So
honestly, fantastic.
And there was back and forth a lot on that, but I met him, Seeley, at New York Comic Con and kind of going up sheepishly, and it was like, yeah, man, I'm a big fan. It's early on, like first thing, and I was hoping that there were still slots on his commission list.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And I go, I bother you online on Twitter with this. And he goes, really, what's your handle? I'm like, Extreme Excursus. He goes, oh, and then like I think it was his wife called over and he's like something. I was like, oh, this guy helps me promote books online. And I'm like, I have no audience. Like I'm not promoting anything. I'm just like, is this an Easter egg? And they're like, hell yeah, man, that's an Easter egg. They were back and forth. So I remember one, it was where it was, is this a reference to this book? And Fleece is like, yeah. And Seeley is like, holy God, man. Like, why? This is too deep of a callback. And I guess I don't think he realized it, but it was just the name of a location. And I'm like, I know that name from this one specific comic. Is that what you're referencing? And he's like, yeah, man. And he's like, I think at this point I'm only writing this comic for Extreme Excursus. Because there was one, the other one I think of that is they had a reference to Spawn 10. And it's like, oh my God, this is on me because I've put myself in this position. I have to at least attempt to name every one of these arms.
Yeah, oh yeah, the arms.
I will say, I don't remember the title now. They're such good sports about all this stuff and have a deep bench of knowledge of these 90s comics. But one of the arms, I went through, it's like, I don't have a guess, man. This is the one arm I don't have a guess. And it was advertised in the back of Image Comics, but never released.
Oh.
And they kind of like fell in love with the design. They're like, oh, we wish you saw this character. And I'm like, that's dirty pool, man. You can't be like putting a reference to a character that never actually appeared. But I love that. I love that. Like, they were kids too reading it. There was something that they were excited for. And they eventually got to make that reference too. So I think Seeley is a really good possibility. The man was just super nice.
Maybe, maybe once the first episode is out, you can message Tim and see if he'd be interested.
Have to do like, hey, we're chatting about you. Like, check out this timestamp. Like, yeah.
Obviously, he's got his Bloodstrike book. I don't know if you've read that.
I did. That's what I commissioned. Was I was like, yeah, can I get Cabot? And he's like, old school Cabot or new school Cabot? And I was like, we're going old school, man. So, but like, he's just, and on I don't want to like blow up his spot on it, but I'll say that his commission prices were like half, a third of what unestablished people had going for their it felt more like, I'm going to charge you a little, but like, maybe I'll say like in $100-$150 range, depending on how like complicated you got, where like people I've never heard of were starting at like 300 and up if you're going to get something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. You're gonna pay for your table, man. I get that New York Comic Con's not cheap.
No, it's not.
But I was flabbergasted that like that wasn't like, oh yeah, friend price or something. I know your name is a friend. Like that was like his list on his card price. Just nicest dude.
No, yeah. He seems like a nice dude. I think I've read a few interviews. I know that Forgotten Awesome, which is a great Extreme Universe fan site, did an interview with him. He seemed like a nice bloke. There's so many people. One of the great things about podcasts, one of the things I've always wanted to do with a podcast is just use it as an excuse to talk to people I find interesting. Sure. You know, I said to you when we first chatted about doing this, is like, I've been reading your website for like a few years now, you know, maybe more. And it's like, it's cool to just talk to you, man. You know, it's like, I've used your reading orders, you know, I've looked over them. You know,
Yeah, any notes, man, please have any notes. So much of it's academic guesses at this point, especially some of the middle stuff. But it's all just a secret backdoor conspiracy on my part to find my grails that I haven't found yet.
Yeah. I mean, I've been hunting one of your grails, Youngblood 87, because I want to have everything that Arcade Comics ever put out, and that's like the obscurest of the obscure. Is the Youngblood 87 Ashcan. Yeah. It's like, no one has heard of the thing. Like, my grail, like, for the longest of time was Youngblood Bloodsport Bootleg Issue 2. Yeah. And, like, that thing is, like, interesting, because, like, you're seeing these insane interiors. There's, like, 1,100 copies of that worldwide. So it's like, there's only a limited, I mean, granted, you know, like, the people who care about Youngblood Bloodsport Bootleg Issue 2 probably number in the small thousands, so who knows, but, yeah, you know, that was, like, a unique interior that not everyone gets to see. But, like, anyone can read. I
remember hearing that it existed and searching online and nobody ever having it. And then finding a shop out of Australia that had it on, like, this text list of comics. And it was like, I'll email them because why not? And they had it. And, like, I had to have it shipped from the other side of the earth to me. But I was so excited. I then found another copy eventually for, like, $10, $15 range as a thing where it's like, I got to pull the trigger on that. And then I want to say a year or two after that is I saw the George Perez wrap cover variant. And I thought I already had like this crazy rare thing. Like this just made me question like how many other different versions were out there. But people went crazy when that book was put up on his Whatnot shop. Like people were just chatting. Even if like everybody finally got satiated and bought what they needed of it. There were so many Facebook comments of, I've been searching for years for this book, and I wonder what other treasures we just need to ask the man to dig out of his.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I asked him for Reject Zero, which I only know about because your website had like one minor reference to it, and then I did some digging, and like there's only like one other reference on the entire internet aside from the stuff that I've now posted about it. Like I had a nightmare getting it into League of Comic Geeks. Because they were like, you have no evidence this thing exists.
Yeah.
And I was like, I eventually just sent them like the stuff that I'd put out and they accepted it. So now if you're on League of Comic Geeks, anyone who happens to have Reject Zero Arcade Comics, you can now register it. But before you couldn't, because there was no way of proving it even existed. I have a copy now. I have a cover that even you don't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of like...
I have 3 copies of this.
You have 3 different covers, and I have a cover...
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It'd be like, wow, it exists. And it's like, man, you know one of 6 versions of it. I love getting these and collecting these and having these, but I could not imagine needing every copy of whatever. You had mentioned getting original art earlier, and I love getting like a really good deal. I can't imagine spending more than $200 on a page. Like I want a cheap page when I'm buying something. And you see pages go for like the price of a car.
No, I mean I won't say what it is because I don't want anyone else to find it. But there is a cover to a comic that I'm very fond of. It's an Extreme Universe comic. It's $4,000, but boy, do I want it. I constantly check, has it been sold yet? Has it been sold yet? I don't think anyone is ever going to buy it aside from me. I don't think anyone's going to spend $4,000 on an obscure Youngblood cover. But I keep on checking. I'm thinking if I ever have $4,000, boy, am I going to have a cover.
So I have like 2 or 3 pieces then framed, but like the rest of the original art that I get, I have one of the like an artist, those flipping book portfolio to keep it all in, but then it just sits closed away from light and possible damage like there, but it's all kind of filed away and not being shared as art anymore. It's I love doing it, but I can't. Some of the prices on some stuff we do. I'd love a New Mutants 98, but I say that, and then I feel like every once in a while they'll be like, "Hey, we're doing the direct market Youngblood. If you want a copy, it's $100." And I'll be like, oh, I'm just over that barrel of like whatever you say.
No, that is the. I mean, when he did Last Blood Final Stand, he was just like, every cover is gonna be signed regardless. So it's like, just slap on an extra like $30 to every issue. He's just like, you don't have the option of getting it cheaper. That's just not happening. It's just like, okay, Rob. Okay, Lord Rob, we'll just bow down. We'll buy it. Sure. You know?
Yeah. I've never, when I would go to the Whatnot shows, it was usually early on to try to buy whatever book is going to get released during that show. And it's at Feeding Frenzy as they're dropped.
No, that's crazy, because I told you, I think I told you the story. It's like when I was buying the Reject Zero, you know, I asked him, can I get a copy of Reject Zero? And he's like, yeah, I can do that for you, man. It took till 3 a.m. for me to finally get it. He puts on the blue cover, right? You have the blue cover of Reject Zero.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, he puts that on his store. It's gone within 3 seconds. I don't even get a chance to grab it. Yeah, you were
saying that like, yeah, sniped out a couple of times.
And then he's like, I'm sorry, man. He like goes and he gets more copies. He's got this cover I've never even seen before. Yeah. And then I managed to grab it, but it was like crazy. His fans, like on that live streams, there's like a hardcore, like 100 people who are always there. And those they're like a plague
money that they're spending on these.
I know. It's like there's a guy called like English Jimmy who appears on he like buys everything. He's just like dropping like $500, no problem. He's just like, yeah, gone, sure. It's like, what?
Jimmy, if you're listening, leave some for the rest of us.
Yeah. Man, I mean, it's crazy. It is crazy.
Okay, so we are starting in. It's a brand new series. We're supposed to be we're referencing things that have happened, but you should be able to come in cold and not have read before this, as we're starting with the number 1 and kind of relaunch. So I will say that that flip through I saw that we have the villain Vandal is in, and I'm excited to have him finally in. I was super excited that first flip through. You see that first page that we're already talked about, where we have just references to the other Image characters. Kind of, we're returning to form. We're what you loved. If this is what you loved, then you should continue to love what's the rest of this book. And it's kind of nice to see, for whatever stories I might have heard or whatever, and I never know what gossip is real, but like any creator animosity is at least quelled to the point that they're allowing him to use a character like this. Yeah. And we're under the Image banner when everybody's name is on there, and we're at least friendly to that point. So it's excited to see that start as a first page. I like that. I'm not sure I've ever been wowed by a Rob Liefeld spaceship. It's a pretty simplistic style when he goes in. It always has been, and I get that kind of for sleekness doesn't read, but where I see like a Rob Liefeld gun, and I'm like, yeah, man, that laser thing that's gonna melt all the flesh off your face, like that's I'm down, like crazy huge, whatever, but like I feel like I never get there quite with the spaceship. So the Image logo to start, all of it's in the Image logo. Yeah. It's all just very on the nose for what they're going into. So we kind of go in, we got our introduction to who our team is going to be at this point, where we have our eponymous Bad-Rock, Chapel, who I did not realize where there are books. Again, this will be a common refrain from me as we're talking about books, but I know a lot at the beginning. I own stuff in the middle, but I've not gone through it, and I've been reading the most modern stuff. Did not realize that Chapel, I thought Chapel had come back in some kind of way. I feel like everybody's kind of come back in some kind of way. I did not realize the Lord Chapel thing was still, we'll say, canon as much as anything is canon, and that the current Chapel is Chapel Jr.
Yeah, Chapel Jr. is a fascinating one, because I haven't even read the stuff that Chapel Jr. is in, right? Like I'm deep diving into this stuff, and I haven't covered it. But what's crazy is that Chapel Jr. has a cameo in Joe Casey's Youngblood issue 8, right? And you literally have to keep on rereading that book to notice that he is. So in universe, he was originally Barack Obama's bodyguard.
Okay.
So you see like a blink and you miss a cameo of this just generic black guy, but he's got the word Chapel, a name tag that says Chapel on it. That is his first appearance. It's just some random guy with a name tag that says Chapel. And if you're not paying attention, because like I'm flicking through like Rob Liefeld comics, and I'm not expecting there'll be like small details that give me information. Like I'm trained with that sort of splashiness of Rob, so I had to look through that book like 4 times before I noticed that this guy has a name tag that just says Chapel on it.
Yeah, and you would think like your first question is going to be Chapel. Yeah. Like, is this? You wouldn't go to Junior necessarily as like a first thing, so it's just going to be that question mark. So we do have our team coming in, and the one reason I say this because this book is structured very much into the first issue where we see each character. You're introduced to the team, and then you're kind of shown each character, and they give that text intro to each one. And I think the text intro for Chapel said something like haunted by the ghosts of his father was the ghost of his father drives him, and I was like, okay man, sure. I wasn't even down for like the Chapel Junior, so I'm like, that's a wonderful color to throw in there. I'm not sure I ever reached that point.
He's got like glowing green eyes. Like, I don't know if that's meant to be like he's possessed or something, or that's just like a stylistic choice.
Yeah. I feel like I know that I've read and I've seen interviews where Rob Liefeld is, even when like he's had other people penciling or doing work with each other when they're sharing inks and trying to share a style, that he reworks the face because he has a very specific feel of what he wants his face to look like if it's going to be associated with his name. And I feel like even with those like pinpoint green eyes, that's definitely one of his style choices. But yeah, there's definitely something going on. It's Bad-Rock too, right there behind him is glowing red.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, one of my favorite depictions of Bad-Rock is when he's in, I think, Spawn 13, and Todd draws him with like human eyes, and I just like that look. It makes him look so much more innocent, which I kind of like the weird kind of contradiction that is Bad-Rock. That there's a real innocence to that character, but also he's this whole giant hulking rock monster. I love the fact that Rob still hasn't let go of the Flintstone thing.
Yeah.
Because like Bad-Rock is saying "Yabba Dabba Doom" in this issue, which
and
I
always
think
has as a thing. Yeah.
But he hasn't let go of that. He's still annoyed that they did that. They had to make him change the name from Bedrock to Bad-Rock.
So I'll ask you too, changing of names. One thing that drove me batty going through with the early comics, those 90s Image comics, wonderful creators, wonderful entertainment in my childhood.
Yeah.
They really could have used an editor sometimes at some point. And the thing that jumps out to me on this is just for consistency is Die Hard and whether or not it's spelled with a hyphen. Spider-Man figured that out and they're adamant with it. Like you get that hyphen in there every single time as a thing. And I feel like from panel to panel, Die Hard loses his hyphen. And I've always wondered, like, do we keep that? But we're hard hyphen through this 2025 series.
I mean, I know Die Hard was the first character Rob ever created.
One of his standouts, too. One thing I'll do in this, and it's just for the shorthand, as we're talking about something, it's going to sound flippant, and it's not meant to, but I might talk about Die Hard, and you might say, like, robotic Captain America, or something kind of like a mashup of these two characters or something, and I don't mean to say that, like, it's derivative or whatever, because there's only really so many pool of superhero powers.
Yeah.
A modern real world, if you want to pull from it as a storyline, so there's going to be a lot of overlap in stuff, but I feel like I would never just say like Shaft is Green Arrow or Speed and then just leave it, no matter what somebody might have as an inspiration. It's obviously grown into something else, but sometimes for the comic book shorthand, it's easy to say like I remember somebody at like who Troll was as a character, and it's like, well, if like Wolverine were a little shorter, a lot older, and didn't have metal, like, and it'd be like it's kind of like that's how he looks, that's kind of what he acts, and it'd be like he's kind of eternal, like that's the spitball answer for it. So I just want to make sure when we go and talk about this, and I'm like, yeah, and it's basically just like a Iron Man with a Captain America shield or something. I'm not being flippant as much as I'm just trying to explain to maybe somebody who isn't initiated, somebody who is on the fence of buying Youngblood #1, that here's what we're talking about as these characters. So when this is getting to when we're talking about Bad-Rock and the character, I always think of him as a mashup of the personality of a Spider-Man, that teenage, gotta do good, like science resulted in this, and now I'm going forward with it, but very much then the other problems of the Thing. The Thing you don't see with the glowing eyes. Thing gets human eyes, and I feel like that's where McFarlane's going to come with giving him human eyes or somebody else. I feel like it's that direct leaning into the Thing side of Bad-Rock as opposed to Spider-Man, the Spider-Man side of it, or something more powerful.
Yeah.
I don't think I noticed until I was looking through this now, but that like Bad-Rock's eyes are glowing through the book and change color from green to red and maybe back again. That's crazy. I'm down. I don't know why I was down for Chapel. I'm down for Die Hard and his robotic eyes glowing. That all makes sense to me. Even on the front, man, everybody's eyes are glowing. Battlehawk, Ripclaw, everybody's eyes are glowing. Folks got that white contact lens. Shaft's the only dude walking around with just his regular eyeballs out. Now that I've dove deep into their eyeballs, we do see that these characters are being called to an issue, and they're landing, I'm going to say, in the middle of the ocean. Did we get a location?
I think they say the Pacific Ocean or something. I can't remember.
And as one of my favorite words in the English language, Megalodon. Is the name of the ship, and we learned that our big bad villain is on this ship, and that's who we're going after. I will say, in reading other recent Liefeld books, that's what I've been missing, is that we've been seeing conversation of setup of this big bad is coming, like a Buffy the Vampire TV show style of talking, then at the end it comes up, but never actually seeing what was going on. So I am excited to have a villain finally coming through. I do say that just before going into the battle, that Bad-Rock does say his Yabba Dabba Doom time.
Yabba Dabba Doom.
And that Bad-Rock is still on Liefeld's mind.
Yes, it's still there. It's never leaving. He's always going to be upset about it.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, as far as I have, my notes are saying that the ship comes out of nowhere, but we see that it has purpose, that they mentioned that it has purpose, that Xerxes warned the government not to interfere with his worker mission, and he's already destroyed patrols looking to investigate, and that's where the team is coming in. We do see them kind of take on Xerxes kind of one by one, which is usually the villain style, where you get the hero one, and they only attack one by one so you can take them out. But we do get, what it does is it allows us to see each character then introduced individually. So we see their team, how they're working in, then Chapel comes in and we get what was a revelation for me, that his father is the other Chapel.
Yes, the other Chapel.
Yep. We do see the shield and sword projection from Die Hard as he's just taking out nameless guards, and then Bad-Rock gets his introduction as he's taking on Xerxes. What I do like is that they immediately just have Xerxes take him down. There's they even cut away to the Vandal Shaft fight, because when they cut back, it's in short order.
I wrote down the floating Bad-Rock panel. I don't know if you made note of this. There is this great Liefeldian panel where you've just got Xerxes holding his hand up. It's just an upwards facing Bad-Rock that Rob has put on its side.
Yeah, because you could turn that on its side.
Yeah, and it's just like a normal standing Bad-Rock. But he...
yeah. No, I'm looking at this where, as far as I can tell, and again, I don't want to be picking it, but we go from that, and we got the shoulder paladins or whatever, his uniform that goes. Yeah. But at some point after that, he's now naked.
They fell off. They fell off between panels. That's what happened. Yeah. That's what Rob will tell you. They fell off. These things happen.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I loved it, but we get to see one by one are either the group gets introduced as they're trying to make their way deeper into the boat, or it's the team getting taken out one by one by Xerxes. We can dive deeper into some of that, but I think then the big surprise then at the end, and spoiler warning for anybody that hasn't gotten to the book yet.
Yeah, this is the big spoiler.
The Supreme family coming back at the end. Limited version of the Supreme family.
Yep.
I feel like we got versions of them. Maybe it was a Brigade 19. I'll never say it right. 2019 with they even had the Mickey Mouse.
That was more like the supremacy, whereas the Supreme family, you generally get either Kid Supreme, Probe / Lady Supreme, and then there's Suprema. I mean, the Alan Moore version had Suprema, and then I'm trying to remember the Supreme dog. What's his name? I can't think what the Supreme dog is called. Yeah, it's going to annoy me, but. They have
if this is up, somebody will make a comment on it.
Someone will make a comment on it.
Yeah,
they'll remind me.
Foaming at the mouth. Yeah.
Well, the Supreme.
So here we have Suprema, Kid Supreme, and kind of our Supreme Prime as our base here, and that's kind of where we end. It's mostly the Liefeld fights that you'd be hoping for as a Liefeld fan, and you're going through exposition that happens as there's a going through, but definitely a return to form and the characters that we love. He definitely didn't dive into his entire sandbox and throw everything at the audience, and there is no real need to have had more than like a passing knowledge of Youngblood.
No.
It's certainly whatever new story is happening. I know we're getting into the issue 2, but I can't tell if this is going to tie back directly to the Last Blood stuff. I feel everything's nebulous enough that it could.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few details that I picked up on and a few things I wanted to mention before we move on to issue 2.
I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I'm not.
No. It's fine. It's fine. The first
I feel
thing
like I'm in a meeting where I can deliver a gibbet and I just keep talking on something other than what we need to be talking about.
The first thing it was just like a detail that I found that I'm using is Shaft using arrows as claws. That amused me. He's just like, suddenly he's got like arrow claws. I don't know like how he managed to put that together so quickly, if he has like built-in arrow claws or if that's just something he did on the fly. But I just
because you would hope that the arrows wouldn't be snappable that easily because he's not powered, right? He's the one that's just a regular dude.
Yeah.
So even if he's super jacked, I can't imagine that like the arrows he's using to take out supervillains are gonna like just snap enough. I just collapse, and maybe he's just enough of an Arrow fan that he just has claws that look like arrows.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen Shaft do that before. I think possibly maybe once, but I don't know. It was an amusing detail. Another kind of spoilery thing, but I think it's worth mentioning is Shaft's dad appears in this. We get an appearance from Shaft. Whatever happened between Shaft and his dad? I've not read the middle of Extreme, so I don't know. Because like in Extreme Sacrifice, they're hugging. It's like, oh, it's lovely to see you, Dad. In this, he's got contempt for him. It's like, what happened between those? I know there's been like 20 years worth of material between the two, but I have no idea what happened. So
and
why
I don't
he's
think
so
Colonel Bravo's appeared that much. Like I don't think he has an extensive history. I don't think he was in all the time once he was introduced. So I know very little. I'll tell you the truth. The first time I read through and doing my quick flip through of like, oh, what's in this book? I thought it was Kirby. I was very excited that Kirby was coming in because I thought that was going to be my tie-in to some of the other series. And it wasn't. I didn't have Bravo on the brain when I was getting in and reading that. I will say, I know I've never heard anything other than Liefeld having a wonderful relationship with his father in particular. I was going to say that, like, there are a lot of daddy issues through characters.
Yeah.
Chapel Jr.'s probably
Chapel
the latest new addition to this list in my mind. I'm just finding this out. But yeah, there's a lot of that. Not Roman, but there's a character. Doesn't Marat own?
Yes. What's his name? The Elemental. Oh no, Quantum.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. That's also an unfriendly dad for like.
Yeah,
superheroes.
Whenever you look at you see the flashbacks to Quantum, it's like he's like satirically like a bad father. He's like, go on, John, beat up your brother. You know, it's like what?
Yeah, like a Breaking Bad cartel.
Yeah.
No redeeming quality at all.
Yeah, he's basically just like more evil Magneto. Like that's the kind of gimmick of Quantum.
Yeah,
because like he's so blatant.
Eugene, you're better than everybody, and just murder them all. Like, yeah.
I love the complete lack of subtlety when it comes to the New Men and that sort of world. It's like it's just the X-Men. You don't have to question it. It's just. Here's Quantum. He is just Magneto. Don't worry about it.
And I have that same it depends on what story you do with it. So I feel like when you're doing this is an obvious pastiche of the X-Men. You're doing that's fine, man. You get to tell your own story and do that. Comics have done that forever. And a version. And if you do it better, then yours gets to be the new brand name. What's doing well? If X-Men's doing well, it makes sense to me that you're going to do your own version of that.
The last thing I wanted to point out before we move on to issue 2 is Xerxes, our antagonist, who may or may not be the historical Xerxes. Anyway, he says the final dawn is coming. I think that was his words. He's like, I'm trying to prevent final judgment, which seems to be a reference to Alan Moore's Judgment Day. And also, Last Blood ends with saying that final judgment is the next thing that's coming. So this might tie into Last Blood, who knows? But yeah, final judgment is referenced in other places. It's a whole thing.
So, and I also feel like I've been burned on stuff before. Liefeld loves religious terms and imagery.
He does. He does.
I feel like that's an easy term to throw out there as they're going through all those latest couple of disparate series. It feels like they're all building to that Marvel Avengers Endgame movie moment where the circles open up and everybody pours out to stop this one villain. Like, do you know Rick and Morty?
Yes, I've seen the first 3 seasons.
Okay, there's a casino heist episode where that they keep going on, but this you son of a bitch, I'm in, and like that they have to build his whole crew. It just feels like Brigade, The Last Blood, a couple of things have just been this like you son of a bitch, I'm in, and the people coming through a portal at the end, it's like we're in too, and be like, oh man, Doom's 4 is in, and it's like I'm all about this now, but where are we going with it? So maybe it'd be nice if that judgment is in all of this coming together, because I think we've already established like time is in play. I think that's, I'm not getting too far ahead, but I think in issue 2, is that where they had people on the boat?
I need to talk about that stuff in the boat and the time displacement, because that is crazy.
Yeah. I don't want to jump ahead. I do know, so as we're discussing this, there is a 3rd issue that is not released to the mass market yet, that was released through the direct-to-consumer base, and just really the one printing. I haven't seen multiple stuff come out.
It's he's been pretty relaxed on the print on the second. Like, he's not been doing like insane variants for the collector's edition since issue 1. He did like a bunch of like small variations, like silver foil and stuff for issue 2, but as far as I'm aware, issue 3 he's not gone nuts on yet.
I like that he's doing the manga editions into the mass market, but those, I feel like those fell off. I was waiting for that for the giant size and whatever else.
Giant size happened. There was a
giant size.
Final Stand hasn't had one. Apparently, a manga edition for issue 3 is coming. Seth Daramoose, who is also working on a Bad-Rock series, is apparently working on a manga edition for issue 3. So we'll see.
But that's that book. All they have at that moment is the ash can that they released, right?
Yes, the little ash can he did. That's all that's available for Bad-Rock. So there's no dialogue. It's just like the art. We'll see how that plays out. We should probably move on to issue 2,
which picks up directly where 1 leaves.
Yes, straight afterwards.
So I will mention then, when we were talking about issue 1, very little time passes throughout. We're still within the same day.
Yeah, same like hour even. It all happens like very much in one go.
Very much just like an infiltration story for the most part. There's the fight that goes on, an infiltration, but this kind of, that's our background while everything's being introduced. So when we start in issue 2, we do get a splash with Bravo and Xerxes Vandal in the background, but appearing on the same side of Die Hard and Shaft. They have the Supreme Team above them floating. What we do get here for the first time is a title, the Xerxes Manifesto Part 2. So
I didn't even notice that. I did not even notice that.
There was no title in the first one, and I don't believe I saw one, at least in that first version of 3 that came out. I will say there is an edit that happened in this number 2 that makes me smile, where he says something that he originally asked as a question, and they change it to just a sentence. Okay, so we have our same characters kind of coming in, but now that we have Supreme battling Xerxes, we see that there's a history between the 2 characters.
Yeah.
They're making comments to a shared history. Xerxes feels betrayed or left behind in some fashion at one point. I will say, we do have, if we're looking at eyeballs as a thing, Xerxes has glowing eyes, and we do get human eyes out of Supreme. I do remember, I don't know if it was speculation or people putting together what they had heard in streams, but that one of the original intentions with some of these stories that I feel like have come together into what this new story is, involved kind of an evil Supreme.
Yes, I think Supreme. I talked about this. There was a comic called Supreme Sacrifice.
Yes, and I feel like that often gets referenced as still relevant.
So Supreme Sacrifice has a story, a backup story, because the main body of it is a Robert Kirkman little Supreme story, but in the back, Rob did I don't know, like a 10-page story where Suprema is on her way to joining a new iteration of Youngblood, possibly one of the arcade Youngbloods, I don't know, they never clarify. But she gets accosted by a group of Supremes who say that, like, Supreme has declared himself, like, the Supreme Ruler and they're going to take over the world, right?
Okay.
And it's a very brief story. And then years later, Rob goes, I am doing a series called The Assembled. And it would have been Supreme has taken, like, OG means Supreme has taken over the whole world. He's evil, and then there's a resistance. And there's only, like, 4 pages of it you can find, because he posted them on his website. And they're of Shaft and Brick from Doom's 4, along with Professor Knight from Alan Moore's Supreme, fighting long-haired Supreme, right?
Okay.
And anyone who knows, long-haired Supreme will appear again, right? So when you go, so he talks about, like, that little story from Supreme Sacrifice was meant to lead into The Assembled, which is this big story that he's apparently been working on. When he was talking about it, he's like been doing it for like 8 years. Which means he started roughly in the year 2000, right? Which is where you see a lot of this stuff start to build up. A lot of these plot threads of, like, the future that we should do something about, Kind of that dark future. You start to see the seeds for that planted in the early 2000s. The reason I know all about this is because in the Brigade 2019 Kickstarter, well, it's like started in 2013, but I digress. In that Kickstarter, that long drawn out Kickstarter, there's a bunch of art, right, on the page that isn't used in the comic. And that art is taken directly from The Assembled. And so in Brigade 2019, they're using the same iteration of Supreme, the long-haired version of Supreme, same costume, same everything, and they're using the same iteration of the evil supremacy characters. So that Lord Imperion, that guy that appears with the glowing eyes, I think that the intention was that was meant to be OG Mean Supreme, who has kind of come back with a vengeance. Because obviously I don't know if you've read Supreme 2012, it's kind of it's Eric Larson's. It's very rare. It's like, for some reason, it's like a nightmare to get a hold of. It's an expensive series. Anyway,
so when we were talking about original art stuff earlier, and like I have a threshold, and I don't like to pay like that. I maybe years ago, but I maybe $120. I think I got a page from the first. So in my head, I technically own an Alan Moore scripted page.
Wow. Yeah, that's a cool thing to say.
I'm on the same idea that I have a Stan Lee scripted pages. They're Ravage 2099.
I was going to say, was it Ravage 2099?
I also love Paul Ryan, man. He was my Fantastic Four when I was a kid. So I'm perfectly fine with Ravage 2099. And it's like they're even like lesser pages of Ravage 2099. I get when you're working on that, like I'm not comfortable spending that money on a page. You get what you can get. So yeah, that's what I was thinking through this, especially because we've already established Supreme as incredibly strong. You can take that step back for the other members of the family, but even recently with Rob has been doing a lot of social media short form videos.
Yes, he has a lot.
Yeah, and maybe it's just that's what I'm getting fed by the algorithm, but which would make sense.
Yeah,
but there was like this versus this, him versus him, this versus them, and who would win, and seeing who eventually comes out on the top, and not just. He ranks Supreme rather high when he does. He will acquiesce the moment there's something that's obviously large and goes in. So I do know Supreme is meant to be one of the largest. So seeing Xerxes take out Bad-Rock and other members early on in issue 1 makes sense to me, and doesn't like you get that somebody to be serious when he throws naked Bad-Rock into the water. But this time when you see the fight kind of start up again, and it's toe to toe with each of the Supreme family members, and then taking them out is a different level. So that also makes me think, if it's not somebody with like a cosmic kind of level to them and a history with Supreme, the one reason that I'm not there yet is I feel like if we were doing the Supremacy and having multivariants, we would have seen more than just the family there.
Yeah, that's what I think this is set before shit hits the fan. That's kind of my idea, because like he's not quite evil Supreme. Like he's like in Supreme 2012, Like, that Supreme is, like, completely insane. Have you read Eric Larson Supreme?
I did when it came out,
Okay.
so I did go through it, but
So,
it's a lot of aping of an Alan Moore story and kind of
Yeah.
finishing that out, an homage essentially to what
So, spoilers for anyone who hasn't read that. In Larson Supreme, it's revealed that OG Mean Supreme is the most powerful iteration of Supreme. So powerful, they had to get all of the Supremes to lock him in a box. And that's where he's been the whole time. He's just been in a box in the Supremacy. And so when the Supremacy is destroyed and they need someone to protect them, they release Mean Supreme, and he just massacres every Darius Dax. They are all dead. He just kills every single one of them. And then he's free, and then he depowers all of the other Supremes so they can't use their powers anymore. And then he just flies off. And I think that was meant to set up, that he would eventually kind of become the evil Supreme that Rob was building up to.
Sure.
But this Supreme doesn't seem like that, so I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
also,
it could be. I mean, a man loves creating just a new villain on whatever. I'm not trying to... my mind wants to tie everything back into something
No,
else,
so does mine. I also want to point out, this is something that I noticed, is I think it might be the worst written Suprema. Like, everyone can make Suprema a compelling character, but Rob's Suprema just doesn't feel like Suprema. It feels like Liefeld variant Suprema. Like, everyone who's ever written Suprema has been able to do a good job, aside from maybe Mark Miller, but even then I think that was intentional. I think the psychotic Suprema from Bloodsport was planned. It's just like, what is this? But yeah, Rob's Suprema is like, she's like, I'm gonna tear you limb from limb, and it just doesn't feel like the same character at a certain point. I don't know how you feel about that, but I made note of it.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily worried about that characterization on everybody. I think he's just trying to like speed train ahead to the point that he's getting at and introduce them and then getting into the fight. So I mean, yeah, there's I could say that I've enjoyed other writers when they do it, but I think you and I talked about, not on this, but in one of our first conversations too, was there's a George Lucas-ness to
Yes.
where he comes up with the story, has this wonderful character, gives you the first couple of introductory stories of this, and you fall in love with that original kernel. But then eventually some of the stuff that you're like blown away by is when these toys are then lent out to another creative to do with something, and then to world build just outside of that one person. And that's just true of any comic world. I wouldn't want a Marvel that was only Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. I want generations of work and on this too. So, but you need somebody that's going to give you that stable base to play with. So there may be people that you can think of that have done better with Suprema as a character. And I wouldn't take that away from him going into this necessarily, but this definitely reads as a Rob Liefeld book as I'm going through. So I'm not necessarily disappointed because I'm expecting something very specific. If I were to get Jonathan Hickman's Youngblood and I were to get a similar Suprema, I would probably tilt my head and question a little bit more. One thing I do want to call out, and it's Juan Manuel Rodriguez doing the coloring work. It feels like a lot more than I see from other colorists. There's an extra level of depth and definition that he's giving outside of just a color or a shading in it, and it's definitely almost the hallmark of the modern Liefeld look. If it's being done in the full color, is that kind of white scratching marker. It's just interesting. This is the first time I can think of seeing that into the full mass market, are these two issues. I feel like that's been seen by his fan base in the Whatnot exclusives and his store exclusives. And I'm sure, my mind is off, they could have been working together since Arcade, but I do notice it, and it does jump out on these books as part of that modern look. I think if he were to lose the colorist, you would definitely notice that.
I mean, he used to work a lot with Matt Yaki, I think his name is. And I always liked Matt's colors on Rob. I think some of my favorite Rob comics have those specific colors. I'm used to Matt's coloring on Rob, but I like Juan's coloring on.
I feel like you should be able to work with multiple colorists as a thing. And I feel like most times a colorist just kind of almost an unsung hero when they're doing their job right. You're not really even noticing it unless it's some crazy splash that you're working on or something. And I feel like he's doing actually elevating some of the work that's on here.
I was actually going to point out that the biggest upgrade you get when you go from the because most of the time you're thinking between the collector's edition and the normal edition, you're thinking you're getting better quality paper and stuff. But I've noticed the color quality is a lot better on the mass market edition. You get a lot more pop to the color on the mass market edition than you do on the collector's edition, where the color's a bit more muted.
Yeah.
That's something I've noticed. Like it pops way better on the mass market version. You really get that kind of, especially in like the reds. I remember thinking like, this is a way more vibrant shade. I was like, oh yeah, the coloring's a little bit better. Just by virtue of the probably the ink they were using.
Weather print,
yeah.
Let me ask you, because this is just kind of dawning on me. I know that, again, in an echo sense of that, sometimes I feel Liefeld might have stories that he had in mind that he's now not going to be going back to, so he'll rework. Yeah. So if he's already decided he's not going back to Marvel, at least, bar some miracle on that side, does this feel like it could be a reworking of an unfinished Cable Strife? Where we have this an evil clone in a helmet.
I would say yes, if not for the fact I know that he worked in all of his unused Marvel stuff into Deadpool Team Up.
Okay.
I know he was talking about how he used the unused Cable and also Major X pages and incorporated them into Deadpool Team Up. One little nugget of information I love about Deadpool Team Up is it was originally going to be called Baddest Blood. It was going to be Bad Blood, Badder Blood, then Baddest Blood. And I just like the idea that Rob just was like... And then suddenly he went with Deadpool Team Up, which I think is a shame, because I think the ridiculousness of him having 3 series all basically just called Bad Blood, Badder Blood, Baddest Blood. Like, it's a very Liefeldian title. I know that some of those pages for Shaft in issue 1 were originally Bow pages. I know that.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that too, where we saw like a Bad-Rock turned into a Cold Snap and a couple of things.
Bad-Rock into Greylore.
Greylore, that was Greylore, because it was the helmet piece coming down. Or the Widow's Peak style helmet,
Yeah.
So we do have the book, as we said, it was... Getting back in where we have Xerxes versus Supreme. Xerxes takes a bite out of Supreme's neck. He's got to be magic or on par to like break the skin, let alone, right?
It's like a weird saint.
Yeah.
He's just like taking a bite out of him. Yeah.
Okay, I found the part. I'm gonna backtrack and you can edit this out as a thing. I want to mention there's something that's been hitting in my head. Issue 1, when Xerxes and Bad-Rock are fighting.
Yeah.
Xerxes says, I felt both a Cyclops and a Minotaur. What manner of creature are you? I'm pretty sure in the direct version, it said, I felt both a Cyclops and a Minotaur, ?
Yeah.
What manner of creature of you? So it was like, I did that? ? What are you? It didn't read right. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a period. And I was really excited that was edited and corrected. So there are some editorial notes being taken between those editions outside of just swapping art. They are taking the opportunity for correction.
Okay, I was like, I remember looking through them and I didn't see any differences, but that is cool to know that someone is editing.
Because having a note somewhere of like, my original notes on the first version was he says to Bad-Rock, look at you, a monster, like fables of old, yada, yada, yada. And then my note is Xerxes unsure about killing a Cyclops and a Minotaur? Why the question mark?
I may have done that.
Yeah, but there's no more question. It was just an editorial issue. So getting back in, and now that my mind is cleared of that, we do see then Vandal really enter into the fight, and we have Die Hard versus Vandal. We get weird information on Vandal. He makes pop culture references like crazy as a thing, which is fine. I know Liefeld likes having a character to do that, and he doesn't have his Deadpool anymore, so like introducing a side character that he can do that with makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Vandal bit, mostly for the fact that like he gets punted into space by Die Hard, and I just love the little
yeah. And then like makes a thump noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we eventually see is that Xerxes takes on, as that fight is happening between Die Hard and Vandal, and they're still going back and forth, they're cutting back and forth between multiple fights. And we see Xerxes handle and take care of Suprema and Kid Supreme. Then what we were mentioning while that fight is happening also in the background is this Die Hard and Vandal, where Die Hard punches Vandal into outer space. because comic books are wonderful. And then bumps into character the Shepherd. Now, I do have to confess that Extreme Destroyer storyline is kind of that start of where I don't have visibility anymore. So I do have these. I didn't read through everything yet in anticipation of this, but I mean, so I'm kind of going the wide-eyed innocent without a lot of background into this. So what I see is we get, and I'm going with pastiches in my head as a way to understand. I have Adam Warlock. It looks like Judeo-Christian Adam Warlock appearing, and we do see that he's heralding the keep. Essentially, we have celestials in this world. But before into that, we just kind of get him as our harbinger conversation there. But here's the part we were talking about. A little bit of time has passed, apparently, because now we're at nighttime. And we get some dialogue explaining that, it looks like there's a blue blast on the hull of the Megalodon, and people appear.
Yes.
And we're explained that there's a time displacement going on.
Yep.
And when Xerxes goes into the past, he needs to displace whatever he's bringing with him with these people. So we get an idea of where he's going. It's Jerusalem. So I feel like this is him just, why not, man? I'm gonna put my story, like, we're gonna put like Jesus Christ as a cameo in the background of something. I don't know where we're going with this. What would be funny is if we could tie it all the way back. What was the I know it's not New Testament stuff, but was it Revelation? What was he did another series.
Oh yeah, he did the Covenant. The Covenant was a thing.
Yeah. That's a series. I mean, is this our intro? Are we going to get late term people in that?
I don't know.
It's an interesting idea. It feels like a little step forward more than we usually get in the scientific thinking in a lot of Image comics of this kind of like family that's established. Seeing the displace, there has to be a story reason for it. I would assume there's a story reason for it. Even a Deus Ex Machina at the end of something that, like, now we have these people, and because they're here, it shifts back because they're the equal amount of ballast to shift off this time shift. Something. Okay. I could also just be burned on that, and these people are just here to smile, and we never see them again.
Okay.
They just start lives in 2025.
So, last thing I want to bring up is the fact that it seems like the last few pages of this book are taken from the Unfinished Brigade issue 2.
Yeah.
It's the same style, it's the same inking style, it's the same location, it's Brigade. Like, Brigade pops up at the end of this comic. It feels like this is from that same comic. It feels like these are some pages he's reusing. I can't prove that. There is nothing to show that is the case, but it feels like these are pages. Like, we even get, like, Coral, who's only ever appeared in, like, that book, and then she's in Nitrogen as well.
Yeah. More modern, but yeah, I mean, I believe that you're right. And again, I'm saying, like, if he has the capital of those pages and an idea started and he wants to Phantom Force that into a new story of the parts that he has, he's the creator and writing the story. As so many people doing a novel or any other long form storytelling will need to pivot as you're going through and new ideas pop up. So it's certainly, I don't want to suggest like shady or wrong, but we can definitely see those footprints when you start mapping his style and what's been shared in the past.
Yeah,
it definitely suggests that. So that said, it does leave then on the cliffhanger with the Brigade coming in as a thing, and that same idea of, you son of a bitch, I'm in. So latest join.
Battlestone is back.
Yep. So what do you have as your recommendation?
Okay. Here's my hidden gem, right? And I love this comic. This was one of the first introductions I have to Liefeld art, and it's still one of my favorites. It's Youngblood Bloodsport. I love this comic. I have a fondness for this comic that is just, I don't know why I love it so much. It's so juvenile. It's Mark Miller at his most, I mean, it's not quite like on Funny's level, but it's like Mark Miller at his most just like over the top, edgelordy. Like, I love the black costume shaft. I don't know why we never got it again. It's on like a cover maybe, but it's never really used again. Outside of that, this book has some of Rob's best art in it, at least in my opinion. I love this kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, but I just love I love the art in this book. I think it's some of his best work. It's very detailed. There's a lot going on. Backgrounds. You get backgrounds, people. You know.
Yep.
Rob actually has stuff happening. You can look around and see stuff.
It definitely feels like more time was taken with it.
This was meant to be his like big return to comics, and you can tell he's putting in as much work as you're ever going to see Rob putting into a comic. And I personally, I've reread this comic so many times, and I don't reread a lot. You know, I usually just like read a comic once, put it into my collection, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to come back to this, but this comic I've reread so many times. So if you like kind of like a dark comedy, if you're a fan of things like Wanted or Nemesis, which are insane comics, but I have a sort of appreciation for them. So if you like kind of almost a so bad it's good take, but also this is one of the best interpretations of like superheroes as celebrities that Youngblood has ever done. It really does play into the shallow nature of it all. So if you want one of Rob's best drawn comics, and probably one of his best written comics, then I strongly recommend this if you can get a hold of it. It's not too expensive online, but it can be kind of hard to find. So that's my big recommend.
That's definitely from an era of harder to find. Mine comes from something people might be able to find a little bit easier. Goes under some radar, but I've chosen for this issue to go with Shadowhawk Zero.
Shadowhawk. Oh, I like that issue. That is
I do. We mentioned earlier Local Man with Fleece and Steely, and I do know that this is where the reference comes from. The Castle Brunich near the Austrian-Swiss border is where their mission. It's the first thing mentioned in here, and that is referenced in one of the Local Man comics when he did a mission going to Castle Brunich. It's like, is this a reference to Shadowhawk Zero by Rob Liefeld? And they're like, hell yeah, man. And Steely is like, oh man, you're really like
Castle Brunich. That's crazy.
What I will say is that similar to the Wanma color art going through, the color art in this book is done by Kiko Taganashi. And Kiko, I think was doing some Spawn coloring for a while too, and then came over. But you can see a lot of extra work being done by the colors. I'm not sure this would necessarily even read and holding up, but when you see the Shadowhawk shimmer,
that looks
there.
That I like that. Yeah, I mean, I've read that comic a while back, and I remember enjoying it. But yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, what always struck out to me is that it's a very different style from Liefeld. It's definitely the extreme storytelling that the borders on your panels being the scribble for high action, but the inking style that he took to it is very much Frank Miller from Sin City.
Yeah, it was directly inspired by Frank Miller from Sin City. Rob always tells like this story about how Jim Lee was doing a lot of Frank Miller inspired stuff at the time. And then as soon as he released that issue, then Frank released a statement about how he was annoyed that people were copying the Sin City style. And then Jim Lee rang him up. He's like, "Oh, you finally pushed it too far, Rob. You know, you finally pushed Frank Miller too far." It's like, Jim, you've been doing this for like a year now. I did one issue.
Yeah, the whole I'm never remember.
Death Blow.
Death Blow. Yes. Yeah, I think that's where it definitely sees in on that. It's almost like a Frank Cho style butt cover.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit Frank Cho, a bit. What is it? What's his name?
Campbell.
Yeah, there's Campbell does kind of similar sort of stuff with his covers, but yeah, Frank Cho is a madman. I love the guy, but it's so funny. Whenever I see a Frank Cho like reel on Instagram, I'm always like, this he's gonna say something insane, but kind of funny. I like Frank Cho. I got a lot of time for Frank.
Yeah, and I know we're running. So if anybody was unfamiliar why this would have happened, they had the Creators X month where they swapped books.
That's an insane story in itself. It comes from Scott Lobdell went up to Rob and Jim and was like, "Hey guys, we've got your number now, Image creators. We're gonna do an event that's gonna blow you out of the water. It's gonna be so cool. You're never gonna be able to stop us." And so he tells the Image guys that, and they're like, "Oh, we got to do an event. We got to counter this." And so they put together the Image X month. It turns out what Scott was talking about was Age of Apocalypse event. But yeah, he's like, "Yeah, guys, we got your number. We can do what you do even better now." And then,
Yeah.
like, it was kind of a drop in the ocean, the Image X month, in comparison to Age of Apocalypse. But it's kind of like that was what they were trying to counter it with, this, like, big Marvel event that was going to blow Image out of the water. And so they were like...
But yeah. although fondly remembered and still collectible as so on any kind of level of that, I'd still work. I will say in the tweets that were going back and forth that Tony Fleece did mention that this was one of the all-time great infiltration comics. It's a one-off. It is a Rob story going through. And it's very 90s, but that's my recommendation if it's under anybody's radar is different style art, a standalone story. It has Bloodstrike in it, but it is very much a Shadowhawk story. But that should definitely be on the radar of anybody trying to collect all of the Extreme books.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left, so let's wrap it up and then yeah, our first episode, our pilot. So what we want to do with this series is whenever a new issue of Youngblood comes out, we will cover it. It might get to a point where Rob stops doing the series, and that might be fairly soon. I reckon we're planning on doing this monthly. We might do it bi-monthly, or we might do it, depends on how things go. If this picks up, if people start listening to it, then we'll see what happens. I want to expand it. I want to do other stuff. Like I said, it'd be cool to do something like a Patreon, so people could chip in, so I can add to my collection, so I can show off new stuff. Like I said, I want to see if I can buy the art for those Andrew Rev Supreme issues. I'd like to do something like that.
That's what I like, is a concerted effort from group trying to get some of that information.
So that's something I want to do. I want to see if I can crowdfund getting that a colorist and a letterer. That would be kind of like a fun thing to do down the line. Those are some ideas I got bouncing around my head. I want to get better equipment, better recording stuff, so I can, because currently my quality is not great, so I want to improve this show as we go along, streamline it. Sorry. Also, a big thing, I want to do guests. I want to have guests each time we do this show. People who also love Extreme, maybe people who've worked on Extreme Comics. I know there's a few people in our community.
Well, like you're saying, there's some other websites too. Maybe we should reach out before we get to other creators and stuff. We can start talking about others in the community.
Yes, I know a few people who've expressed interest in maybe doing an episode. So hopefully next week we'll have our first guest. That could be fun. So the next issue of Youngblood is coming out the 28th of January. So we'll do our next episode. We'll record anyway the next episode on that weekend. When that new it. Because both of us have already read it in collector's edition, but I feel like it makes sense for us to wait until everyone has a chance to read it in that mass market, because not everyone is mad about Extreme like us and will pay for the $40 Youngblood, collectors.
It'd be a really cruel podcast. Get this just to spoil it for you.
That's the plan. We're gonna cover each issue, and if Rob gets a big delay, then we'll spotlight other issues or other series within this Extreme universe. We'll cover on things like Giant Size Youngblood or Lost Blood. We'll do spotlights on those, but for the time being, we will carry on with this for as long as Rob keeps on producing them. Yes. Which, who knows? The next episode may be our last covering Youngblood, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. So, I think I hope everyone has enjoyed this. I know I've had a good time.
I did too, man.
Okay, well, so that's us signing off.
See you on the next episode.